Hello everyone, this is Griffin Station back here with another Jump Force video, and in this video, now that we know the full base roster, I thought it would probably be a good time to post my DLC prediction since I know a lot of people have been asking what DLC characters I think will be in Jump Force. Now, I do have to say that this is my prediction, not my wish list. I feel my wish list would look a little bit different from this prediction list, and so with that out of the way, I just want to say that I'm sorry if I don't list a character that you want in Jump Force. This is literally just who I think will be in DLC. So with that out of the way, I need to start off with somebody that I'm sure all of you have probably grown that I put on my list, and that's Medaka from Medaka Box. I put Medaka on this list, and I wanted to put her first just because I know that a lot of people are expecting me to put her on my list, but I actually have a couple reasons to put her on my list. The main one is that Medaka is a character that has been heavily rumored by somebody like Rhyme, which has come out to say that he thought that Medaka was going to be one of the characters, but turns out the rumor about her, about Sunna, about Toki, and about Cara Sensei were false. So these seemed to be the final 4 of the 12 that would have been if Yonko's 12 were correct. I still think that this rumor has some validity to it, considering Dai, Jotaro, and Dio were a part of that 12, as well as Boruto, Kaguya, Kakashi, and Gaara. And so, if those 3 were a part of the 12, I could safely assume that maybe these characters were in Jump Force. They still are, but their development time was pushed aside to make sure these other characters made it out in time for the base roster, and then after they're just pushing these characters to DLC. Because in-game development, they run out of time a lot of the time. And in this case, they probably just weren't given enough time to finish these characters. These characters probably weren't as important to the story as some of the other characters, and so they probably just pushed them aside and said, you know what, we'll just save them for DLC. And so, for my next pick, I would actually pick Sunna. Now, Sunna, on this case, I think he is a lock for DLC. I know I've said that he was a lock for the base roster. He didn't end up being a lock for the base roster. But I think not only the fan outcry for Sunna, but also just the rumors, and also logistically it would make sense. His series has also sold 30 million copies in Japan, and that's nothing to laugh at. It's actually pretty comparable to a bunch of the other series in this game. Maybe not the top dogs like Naruto and Dragon Ball, but it's still up there in terms of sales. My next pick is going to be Cara Sensei, and I've been really debating between Cara Sensei and Nagisa. With Cara Sensei, it's sort of hard to say that he will be playable in this game, only because we don't necessarily think that we're going to be getting his character assets and also his moves in the created character system. This is one point that needs to be made, and it's that with the season pass, we get all of the moves from the new DLC characters as well as their assets. And when I say their assets, it's usually their outfits. And so I can potentially see Cara Sensei's outfit on a created character. It'd look a little funny. It'd be sort of just like a robe of some sort, I think. But the real thing would be his moves. Now, if we're getting his moves, how would that work if he uses something that's just completely not possible by the created character? And that's, of course, you can add tentacles to your created character. I'm just not sure it will happen. If we don't get Cara Sensei, then I think it would be Nagisa. But I do think we're getting an Assassination Classroom nonetheless. Now, our next character that I think we will be getting is Toki. Now, Toki I did not think was going to be on the base roster. There was multiple reasons, but one of the main reasons for Toki I didn't think would be on the base roster was because simply his tone compared to the tone that they were trying to present to Jump Force just simply did not match, but I do feel since these are being added as DLC characters, they can forego the tone, give him a more jokey vibe, and also just make him more unique and present him in the way that his series truly is. I know Gintama has a lot of serious arcs, but I feel as though they should try to encompass the entire thing. Make him serious in some aspects, but also give him his laughs in another. And so I feel Toki as a DLC character makes perfect sense, and I think he will be in DLC, especially considering how well his series has sold. Next we have Alan Walker from D. Greyman, and Alan is a pick because if you look at the created character assets, we have a couple series listed here, and one of them is D. Greyman. We have Lena Lee's boots, and we have Lena Lee's hair. Now, one of the problems that I have is that Lena Lee's boots are in here, and if we're getting the created character assets of the DLC characters, that means Lena Lee can't be a DLC character, considering we already have her boots, which is a costume piece. But we haven't seen anything of Alan Walker, and so this is making me think, you know what, they have the license for D. Greyman, they just don't have him in the game yet, and so they're going to include Alan as DLC. This is one of my main reasons as to why I think Alan Walker will be a DLC character. For my 6th spot on the DLC list, I think we have Lala from To Love Ru. This is sort of going back to Gintoki's case on my DLC list. I did initially list her in my final 12 prediction list for Jump Force's base roster, but looking back at it, tonally, she just wouldn't necessarily fit in the story mode. But we do have assets of To Love Ru characters with Momo's hair and also Lala's hair. We don't have her outfit, which is really interesting, because if we don't have her outfit, that potentially means that we could be seeing that outfit come through her DLC character pass. And so I really think that Lala is going to be playable. If we don't get Lala, I think it will be Yami from To Love Ru, but I do think that a To Love Ru character is a lock. Now my last 3 characters are from series already in this game, and they aren't going to be from series that you might be expecting. The first one is Bakugo from My Hero Academia. Now, I think Bakugo has an extremely high chance to be as DLC. I've always thought it would be DLC, mainly because Bakugo is the #1 most popular character in My Hero Academia, but 2, My Hero Academia is so popular right now. It would not make sense to have only one My Hero Academia character on the base roster. So you get a lot of sales of the season pass or the character pass through characters that are really well liked, and Bakugo is one of those characters. I know some of the fan base don't necessarily care for Bakugo, they don't like his personality, but if you're trying to appeal to a mass audience, Bakugo would certainly be one character to do that with. My 8th pick for the DLC characters is Yuno from Black Clover. Now, I was actually thinking that Noelle would take this Black Clover spot, but now that it's down to DLC, I really think they're just going to go with Yuno. Yuno might not be as important to the overall story as Noelle's story is for Black Clover, but Yuno is the rival, and he's more well recognized if you asked anybody that didn't watch Black Clover if they wanted to purchase a particular character. Now, Yuno, I believe, is going to be a part of this DLC for many of the same reasons that I put Bakugo on this list. I think Bakugo and Yuno would also just basically come hand in hand, and I think is pretty safe to assume that these 2 characters will make it. I also need to state that both of these characters have their hairstyles in the base roster of the created character assets, but we don't see their outfits. At least we have not seen their outfits. if we get the full game, and then after we see any of these characters' outfits in the created character system, then my list would change, as that would be contradictory to what we have heard from Bandai Namco in terms of the character pass. And now for my last pick. This one is really a wild card, but I think I've settled on Giorno from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. It could go to Hiei from Yu Yu Hakusho, it could go to another character from Bleach, such as Yuha, it could go to another character from Hunter x Hunter, such as Pitou, but I think I'm settling on Giorno because as of right now, we only have 2 JoJo's reps, and much like My Hero Academia, and much like Black Clover, although JoJo's is an older series, JoJo's is a very prominent series as of today, and we have Part 5 running in the anime right now. So if they were to choose a JoJo's character, I think Giorno would probably be the pick. He also fights differently enough from Jotaro and Dio, but has that connection to Dio, and so I feel it would make sense to include Giorno out of any other JoJo's characters. It would also help promote the current anime of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and I think that that's something that Bandai Namco and also Shueisha wouldn't necessarily want to pass up. I will be making a wishlist video in the coming days, but as far as you all, let me know which characters you want in the DLC pass. I know that I didn't list all of the characters that I would have wanted and that I would have hoped for, but hopefully there's at least some characters that you would want in this list, because I think that this list is going to be mostly accurate. I am surprised that I flipped so hard on the big 3 getting another rep, but just looking at the DLC pass and looking at the information that we know so far, I actually think that they're going to mostly use this for newer series and also series that have not made it into Jump Force yet. But let me know what characters you want in the DLC pass and which characters you think will get in the DLC pass, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.